Welcome to Campfire Curmudgeon, take 2 of the show that we lost.
Thanks, computer.
Yes, computer.
I'm Heidi Schilling. With me is...
Nicholas Jones.
What are we talking about today, Nicholas?
Today we're talking about ghosts and trains.
Is it that you know because we've done this before? Does this feel so familiar?
And nostalgia.
Nostalgia.
And I feel like we're right back where we started.
It does. It feels a little deja vu-ish. Mm-hmm. So we recorded this already, and you would have had it out last week, but my computer decided it didn't want to compute, so...
It actually said that in the editing process.
Yeah, it was like don't wanna.
It's like you could hear our voices, and then it was like, I don't wanna! And then...
It gave up.
Yeah, it was just like missing portions of the show.
Yep, well...
So we're going to try using the
again.
same... We're going to do the same thing twice and expect different results.
So we're going to see if Nick is as excited about this story. Round 2. I'm still very excited about this.
Yes, we have a listener-submitted story.
It's a listener-submitted story, and instead of just telling us just the facts and giving us kind of a boring and then kind of situation...
Get out of here, Joe Friday.
We actually had this listener compile the events into like a story format. So this is really nice. And this was from somebody I've known for a long time. His daughter describes him as a scamp that grew up in the north of New Jersey. He and his friend compiled this story together from their memory of what had happened many years ago. Alan is the one that wrote the story up. His daughter says he likes beers, brews, and science, and his pal Ed likes guitars, music, and movies.
All right.
And we're going to get to hear in their words what happened one spooky night long ago.
So enjoy.
You ready for this?
Yes.
You sure?
Yes.
You ready? I'm getting grumpy. Are you sure you're ready?
Well, as I'll ever be.
Oh, all right. Some things are only known to others through the stories that are told over the years. This is one of those things. But only now is the story being told. A hazy memory of a summer night that chilled us to the bone we dare not repeat. Our youth wrought an indestructible feeling within us, but fear of something we didn't understand had made us humble. The sacred land of our youth was filled with mystery, after we thought it was all boring and predictable. There are things that live in the space between the dust of the ground and the living above that should never be disturbed. Written by Alan.
As read by Heidi Schilling.
Written by Alan of Yardley.
Yardley.
Yardley. It was a hot, sweltering night near the North Edison South Plainfield border. The dense New Jersey summer vegetation was speaking in tongues of strange insects that we never saw, and fireflies flashing their mating codes to all. We were just leaving work, Andy, Chris, and I, 3 busboys collecting our tips after a sweaty long night of clearing tables. Marge, the owner of Medici's Italian restaurant, cashed us out and shook her head, thinking we were up to no good as we pushed open the exit and left the smell of garlic bread and tomato sauce behind. As was customary on a Saturday night, we piled into Chris's car, all the while babbling about who were the worst customers of the night. Andy said the big lady at the table by the far window always had her 2 sloppy kids with her, who always made a mess on the floor. I said I hated busing the group from Bradley's. They always took a huge combination of tables and chairs and wanted more bread and silverware and were crappy tippers. Someday, I'm going to drop their bread under the salad bar sink before I bring it out, which had recently backed up and exposed a curious gray substance on the floor. Let's see how they like that. We stopped and bought a couple 6-packs with our pockets of tip money. We did look at the Johnny Walker bottles that called to us, but the tips were not that good.
Yeah, top shelf.
Top shelf.
Remember being in your 20s? It was like, well, I don't want to
remember being in my 20s.
Bottom shelf. Yeah, you're still in your 20s.
Just barely, yay!
You remember being in your early 20s when you were like, oh, I can't afford top shelf.
No.
Yeah, we'll go.
I never had to buy.
We're not gonna get. We're not gonna get bottom shelf, but we'll get something.
You just get mid-level. You're like, what's at my eyeball level?
Exactly.
We'll go up that high. The taller I am, you find the tallest person. You're like, yeah, just grab something right at eye level. You pay.
What's true in Edison, Missouri, or New Jersey, Missouri, is true in a lot of places. Anyway,
is it?
Let's continue.
Shall we? Okay. Chris, the head busboy, always preached the value of not buying Bud and paying more for Michelob. He said that there was more alcohol and less gas in the morning than Bud. That made sense to us.
4.7 over 4.5.
Hey, he's right. That's more.
Technically.
Beer in tow, we headed for the Park Avenue Bridge overpass, a rusting hunk of metal and concrete built shortly after the last Great War, and looked like it was brought over from bombed-out Germany. It spanned the Lehigh Valley Railroad line and displayed a number hand-painted quotes about the South Plainfield High Tigers and the St. Joseph Hawks and some stuff about a few neighborhood girls. Ooh, scandalous. This is where long trains were laden with freight cars filled with huge buckets of coal, sand, and toxic chemicals. Only a stone's throw from quiet Jersey neighborhoods where mothers and babies played in their yards without a clue to toxic potential. The 100-car locomotives rambled through a neighborhood late at night and disappeared into the darkness on rails that shined. We loved that bridge with its partially exposed rebar and huge cracks, and it supplied a place for birds to nest, for vines to stretch out, for feral cats and dogs to hold up in a New Jersey rainstorm. We loved it most for it was our Saturday night clubhouse. Over the years, the trains had shaken the old bones and headstones of a nearby cemetery of the Holy Redeemer Church of South Plainfield, and there were old stories about the railroad forcing the church to dig up a few graves so they would not have to add another bend to the line. That's just asking for a haunting right there, in my opinion.
This is pretty eminent domain.
Right? They're like, we'll just move those, no big deal. My grandparents lived a couple hundred yards from the tracks, and we would take turns sleeping over there in their old farmhouse. My kid brother would be terrified, pulling the covers over his head when the train came and blew its lonely horn. After all, it was creepy enough hearing your grandma snore, but with the windows rocking to its dreary frequency of the slow, fading click-clank of the wheels, he imagined the shadows from the trees that danced along the bedroom walls with every passing car were arms from the graves misplaced, and that the rumbling from the train was the opening of the ground itself, and high-pitched squeals from the wheels of the train passing were the calls of lost souls from a dark and haunting past.
It's very steampunk and kind of...
And very awesome.
Northern Gothic, yeah.
Like, let's add a guitar solo right there.
It's pretty metal.
It was here we now assumed our positions under the bridge and consumed our hard-earned nectar. Speed was key in order to avoid lukewarm beer. Ugh, nobody likes lukewarm beer.
No.
If my beer gets warm, I make somebody else drink it.
That's usually, yeah.
Yeah, you've seen this. Like, who will finish this so I can get a new cold one?
And I'm like, I don't like sour beer.
You don't want warm sour beer? Sounds delightful.
Yeah, no, we're good. One of those words is good, the other two not so good.
Which one? Sour? Sour's good.
Sour and warm.
Andy, who often pondered the logic of our activity, said, "Let's finish this first round quickly so we can throw our bottles at that train I hear coming."
Yeah, what a philosopher Andy is.
Chris, not finished with his beer yet, grabbed and threw an old empty pint he found of Packard's Red, a miserable, cheap, blended rot gut rye, which was sold at Packard's Liquor in the shopping plaza just over the bridge. It shattered harmlessly on the stone bed of tracks below us. I said, Old Harv must have thrown it over the side on his walk over the bridge years ago. I'd seen him going over this bridge every day, limping along the side of the road to get his pint down at Packard's. Huh, said Andy. He's probably going to walk over tonight and hit us with one on his way by. That would be a good trick, since Old Harv passed away years back, I said, as I cracked open another Mick. You see, he and the old lady and his 5 kids lived next to Spring Street on an old dirt road, where Harv hadn't worked in years.
Something tell me Spring Street isn't that springy.
Probably not. And Mrs. Passwasser had to support the whole clan cleaning tables at Norman's Bar and Grill. In spite of her club foot, she also dug little necks at the Jersey Shore and sold them for the Thursday night clam special at the bar. This went on for a while until a councilman got sick from a bad clam and threw up on one of the town's attorneys. Ooh. Their old place was a dirty shack since Mrs. Passwasser couldn't keep up with the bills. Harv usually slept during the day and then spent a few dollars for his pint of heaven. Now, Mrs. P didn't much like that. One night, they say she gave Old Harv a big dose of sodium arsenite weed killer as a chaser after he was half in the bottle that kept him from waking up. This type of weed killer has long been banned in more modern times when people started realizing that the arsenic was ending up in the groundwater. Later research would show the same type of arsenic led to the demise of Native Americans living near Montezuma's Well in Arizona. The stories of greenish bodies left in the caves and reports of leeches with the highest level of arsenic in a living thing chilled me to the bone. Can you tell he's a scientist?
Yes.
Yes. Very cool. I love his take on things. You can tell he has a very analytical mind, which makes this all the more interesting, considering
also,
it's about to be a ghost story.
Well, he knows where to throttle up on the prose too. Like, you just, hey, you know what? Beer was my nectar, and
right?
You're like, oh, I took AP biology. Okay, I know what you mean by that.
You took AP biology?
No, I didn't.
That was like, that's a lie.
I took college biology.
Did you?
Which is basically AP biology.
I don't remember what I took in college, so points to you, sir.
I think I got a B in it.
Great.
It was chemistry that I did not do well in.
I don't know what I did well in.
I'd like a C- and I had to drop it.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I got by science class by
Hook
luck.
or by crook?
By luck.
By crook?
I couldn't remember. We were supposed to draw like some stupid diagram, and I didn't have the book, and I didn't have time to borrow my friend's book to look at the diagram. Couldn't quite remember the cycle of whatever it was I was supposed to be drawing, so I made some stuff up, and I ended up getting like a bunch of just random points because I think he couldn't tell what I had drawn, because I was just like, this is a bunny rabbit, here's a squiggle.
This is either a series of covalent bonds or it's photosynthesis. I can't tell. You pick.
Yay, college. Anyways. With the house and kids gone now, and Mrs. P ended up in the state pen, they said Old Harv had so much arsenic in him, and with all that drinking over the years, the undertaker didn't even have to embalm him, being he was permanently preserved in that pickled state. They couldn't change the greenish tinge of his skin, however, a peculiar condition caused by interaction of the arsenic and alcohol breakdown products in the corpse.
Pickled purple by poison, and he's in a predicament. I bet he was pungent, too.
He's not purple, he's green.
Okay, yeah.
While Mrs. P wanted him burnt and scattered, the kids insisted their dad be laid to rest in the nearby cemetery.
Someone's will and this is Nicholas Jones. It's my last will and testament. I wish to be burnt and scattered.
You heard it. I'm pretty sure that makes it legally binding.
Sure.
Can I have your bones?
Well, I just said burnt and scattered.
But instead, can I have your bones?
You can have the ashes of my bones.
I want to have an articulated skeleton of human bones. They're kind of expensive. Can I just have yours?
No.
Oh, man. Come on. Say it on here. Make it legal. Say it. Say it.
We'd need a notary. Actually, there's a recording of my voice.
It's a recording of your voice. You did say who you were.
Yeah, but this is... Okay, if anybody's listening, this has been selectively edited.
This is a legally binding contract. Why won't anybody let me have their bones?
Can we get a story by a lawyer next?
All right. If there's any lawyers out there, send in your stories. If they're about bones, extra points.
Yeah.
The three busboys chatted on through the humid night with stories of marching band legends that we had all first met. We were now paying homage.
That John Philip Sousa, he was aces.
I think these are people they knew.
Oh, okay.
We were now paying homage. Those that had gone before us, we relived. Remember when Scott Ginger got even with Mr. Anthony? Anthony was the presiding maitre d' at Medici's and had it in for Ginger, a greaser and a wise ass, but also a kick-ass timbal player in the SPHS Tiger Marching Band. One night Mr. A made Scott clean out the bus buckets, which were soiled with dirty grease by night's end. While having his standard veal and pasta dinner at one of our clean tables, he left to take a call at the bar. Ginger, who smoked Winston's for years, coughed up a nasty loogie and promptly deposited it into Mr. A's pasta, which he eventually finished, cleaning his plate with Italian bread. Ugh, we still cringed at this one. Yeah, I am cringing right now, and I'm sure a listener or two has vomited into their lunch. Don't eat while listening to this podcast.
Yeah, well, yeah, you mentioned that now.
Spoiler alert. After the fact. Unspoiler alert.
Appetite ruiner.
Reverse spoiler.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yes. Anyway, I'll let this story.
Our Vincent Booger Stanchel, the trombone player, who emptied his spit valve at precisely the wrong moment during the annual holiday concert.
That's gross.
Decorating
That's really
Assistant Principal John Frog Fallon and his wife with Booger's DNA. We secretly worried that someday bad karma would come of these things that we had all witnessed and even sanctioned. We had drunk the unfinished champagne from customers on complimentary champagne night after cleaning their tables, guzzling bottles in the kitchen. Alas, this too had gone horribly wrong, with Andy having had too much one night, and walking into the ladies' room, falling asleep in one of the stalls, and Marge having to go get him out of there. We rambled on into the night. Curiously, we all stopped talking suddenly, which my grandma used to tell us always happened at 20 minutes after the hour, because this was the time when Jesus died. Anyway, me and my brothers always thought this was a serious bunch of hooey designed to make us feel guilty, and in this case, nobody checked their watches.
I think that's where 420 came from.
What? Wait, I don't think so.
If it's legend that he died at 20 after the hour, when he died, basically the sky went black, and it'd be weird for the sky to go black when in mid-afternoon when the sun hasn't set yet.
Okay, so you think it's 420?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, my Christian weed smokers. Come back me up.
Is that a thing? I'm sure it is.
I'm sure they're listening to us.
I don't know. I think you chase all the Christians away.
Oh, it's me. Yeah, you're right.
That's definitely you. What are you saying? Rude. It was then we hear the shuffling sound coming up the hill. I think it was shuffling, not you trying to breathe.
Oh.
We know your lungs are failing. It's okay.
Okay.
And the lone engine
I'm
roaring in the
children's
distance.
Parties,
Ooh. I don't like that.
Gather round, children.
And the lone engine roaring in the distance, hauling ass past the L.A. Dreyfus Company and the old Moran house on its way to our overpass. We all felt it.
First of all, it's Dreyfus. Second of all, it's morons.
I think you're wrong.
Okay.
And I'm going to say you don't live in Jersey, and I don't think you've ever even been there.
No,
so
I haven't.
We're going to move right along.
All right.
We all felt it. It was like you were in your tent in the middle of the woods, and you just know something alive is moving just outside with only 5 mil of fabric between you and it. It's just Nicholas Jones. He's trying to breathe. Use your inhaler.
I was born 3 months premature, okay? I have underdeveloped lungs, okay? It's a disability. It's not something to be made light of.
As he pushes his glasses so far up his nose.
Yes.
Just kidding. I'm the one that does that.
At best, I have 70 to 80% of the lung capacity of someone who would be normally my size. And
High five.
Yeah, go for Wheezy Nick.
Go Wheezy Nick. Hey, you're still here.
Oh my God.
Defeating the odds. I don't know.
Defeating the odds? I don't know about that.
Fine.
Mildly defying them?
All right. Like I said, if you die soon, can I have your bones?
No.
Okay, fine. I'm going to get his bones.
You're not allowed to jump them, though.
Creepy. I'm going to just steal them. Be like, this corpse looks a little soft.
Right hung up in your garage next to your weed whacker.
No, I'd put you in my library. Okay. Aesthetics, come on.
I could see eternity in a library.
You can see that, right? I'll give you some pretentious book to hold in your hands that says Nick knows everything.
Ulysses.
There you go.
Fuck James Joyce.
Between you and it, the bad karma, get even karma, was finally coming.
Uh-oh.
Suddenly, Andy said, "Do you hear something?" And there it was, a rustling of the weeds, but more than that, like something was getting dragged along. And a snuffling noise. Oh, there you go. Now you can snuffle.
A sound that says, "My name is nothing," or something. Do you hear something? Yes, I hear something. Something's coming. Uh-oh.
Is this like Who's on First?
Yes.
Huh. Well, we stood there frozen. It got a little louder. But the rustling stopped.
I thought it was summer. Late summer? Like locusts?
They stood there frozen, scared.
Oh.
Trying not to piss their pants.
Petrified. But not like turned into actual wood.
No. It's not that cold.
Okay.
Summer. The rustling stopped. Just a dragging sound on the road. Finally, Chris said, "I wonder if it's some kind of animal. You know, we did see one dead deer a while back by the Oak Road." The effect of the beer, along with the assumption that, hey, it was only a dumb animal, was fueling our courage to head out of our hideaway through the weedy path to the top of the bridge. We crept slowly, moving deliberately, trying not to wet ourselves. We could hear a car coming now up the bridge, an 8-cylinder by the sound of it, the exhaust mustering a throaty push as it ascended. "Wait," I said. "Let the car pass first. What if it's a cop car?" And at that moment, a horrific screech and a crash. 100 fragments of plastic and metal showered the road. Then only the hissing of steam was heard. We charged to the top and saw the car impaled on the sturdy iron guardrail, a massive V in its hood and steam coming from under its crumpled front, its battery thrown forward out of the engine compartment halfway down the hill to the Oak Tree Distribution Center. A lone occupant throws open the door, bleeding and disoriented, and drunk by the smell of him. His foot splashed in the liquids pooling from under the car. He accepts no help from us, instead babbling incoherently at first, then about somebody walking in the road, how he had to swerve to miss him. We look and there's no one in sight. Of course, we think he's drunk and high, and he could have seen several things that didn't exist. After we help him clear his car out of beer cans and illegal substances, he thanks us, and we discover that he is Jerry Werner, famous SPHS high school athlete of a few years back, wearing an old beat-up varsity jacket, now splashed with blood.
Uh-oh. Damn Jerry Werner. Driving drunk.
Now's probably a good time to add that names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Yeah. So don't you dare try to steal
So don't Google Jerry Werner and get all mad about it.
I didn't find any Jerry Werner wearing a leather jacket all bloody. You guys are liars.
I mean, I can't speak for Nick, but... yeah. Oh, I just made like the saddest sad puppy dog face. I won't slander your good name, sir.
I have a good name?
It's an alright name. It's a pretty basic name.
Alright, what's going on with Jerry Werner? He's bloody, he's standing in radiator fluid or something?
Probably, and he's all splattered with blood. Chris walked back and saw another bottle on the street, which he picked up thinking it was something that came from Werner's car. A moment later, another car is flagged down. The driver, who was on his way home from work at a night guard at Hall's Freight Shipping, agrees to call the police. No cell phones back then.
Yes, I agree to call the police.
Well, no cell phones. You have to find somebody, flag them down, send them home to call.
You gotta murder them so there's no witnesses.
I mean, yeah, okay. We hightail it out of there, thinking the police are due any moment, and we would have to explain the alcohol on our breath. Underage drinking.
You've had a 5-pack of Michelob Light. You rascal. You deviant.
Dirty rascals.
You rapscallion. You scamp.
We reassembled by the car down by my grandparents' house. Holy shit is now the expression of the evening.
Uh-oh.
Man, that dude must have been totally messed up drinking beer and whiskey, Chris said. I said, what whiskey? Oh, I picked up that bottle. It was half empty of that Packard stuff you told us about before. Well, weird thing is, Packard's doesn't sell that brand of whiskey anymore, as they moved to a whole new branding called Packard's Reserve. It's got the silver label with the P with the crown on top. Realization suddenly hits us. What if he did see something? Or someone that wasn't supposed to be? And what was that strange sound we heard right before the crash? Another legend had now been created. But we never discussed it again, nor did we ever go back to our old clubhouse under the bridge. The Courier News told of a single-car accident with injury, reported on the Park Avenue overpass at approximately 1:20 a.m., according to the police report. Werner, a broken man, would soon retreat to Florida and become a real estate agent, no doubt plagued by reliving images of an old man in the middle of the road as he crested the hill, thinking he was indestructible. Soon the summer would be ending. Time to go off to college. A year later, I walked through the area again during a visit to my grandparents' house. Reliving some of the times we had had and wondering about the night, I walked up the dirt path to the side of the bridge where we used to gather. I saw a lot of broken glass, faded labels, decomposing six-packs. I noticed it seemed that nothing would grow along that side of the road where the accident had taken place. To me, it had the look of simple defoliation. Might the soil be poisoned? My explanation, which to this day has not been proven or disproven, is that Werner had saved us from the ghost of old Harvey Passwasser, his apparition finally dispersed by the crash, releasing its toxic burden among the weeds of the Lehigh Valley Railroad Bridge. Now the weeds grow there no more, and all that remains is an empty bottle of Packard's blended rye whiskey.
It could just be the fluid contents of of a combustion engine or a natural herbicide. You know, like your engine cracks open and oil pours over your lawn. That spot is probably not going to be the best for growing plants.
Could be.
For a while.
I don't know. Nowhere's good for me to grow plants.
Antifreeze, transmission fluid, oil, washer fluid. These are all
washer fluid. You were like digging, like, I gotta add one more thing.
Yeah, these are all things that you use in your garden, correct?
Oh, I thought you were gonna say these are all things a car. I'm like, very good, Nicholas. I'm glad you're taking mechanic classes now. And you should see the dirty look I am getting.
It's so dirty. I mean, it's mean.
Anyways, that's pretty interesting. What do you think he saw?
I think he saw old man Passwasser and drinking his
old whiskey
and rye.
That's pretty cool, even if it is just a coincidence.
It literally is a different version of American Pie. Like, it's that kind of like, hey, let's go hang out by the bridge and drink.
Well, everybody. I mean, we all did that. You all hung out somewhere, probably drinking underage. If it wasn't a party, it was like, you know, well, here, out in a parking lot, because there's not really anywhere else to go.
An undeveloped cul-de-sac under streetlights? Yes.
Pretty much,
and then the cops get called on you? Yes, that happened.
No, we were smarter than that.
I was dumb. It happened at 19.
I was dumb.
It happened at 19.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I remember in high school, a lot of the time, we would just be like standing in a parking lot, hanging out, because it was like, well, where do we want to go? I don't know. Next thing you know, you've been there for like 5 hours, like, hey, we're still in this parking lot. But we didn't have a cool clubhouse. That's pretty cool, but it seems kind of like it kind of ruined their little spot.
Yeah.
After something like that, it would be kind of freaky. Like, let's go stand around there and like hope we don't get hit by a car again.
On the other side of the bridge, was there like a hobo eating beans over a campfire? And
is that what happens on all bridges?
And then, like, what's the proximity of the train tracks to the road? Is the bridge and the road cross?
You can actually...
the Lehigh Bridge?
Yeah, you can actually pull it up. It is... he gave accurate descriptions of where the bridge was.
And you, being the internet sleuth, you found it, right?
I did. Well, I did find it. I also found that there was a cemetery near there. I believe it's a different cemetery than the one that he is describing.
Uh-huh.
But it's a cemetery where there is a woman who was buried there who was believed to potentially have been what they based the Bloody Mary legend off of.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if I can find that
Which we covered in February, I think.
We did. We already covered that a little bit. We talked about that. Do you remember what we had said about her?
Childhood rituals and how to coax her out of how to summon her.
Yeah, but do you remember? So I think the name of the witch is Mary Moore, and I did find you can actually go...
I hear that, and all I start thinking is the stupid Mary Mo song in Dumb and Dumber.
No, I don't know what that is.
Mary Mo!
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, that song.
Well, you can go to geneartistry.com,
mm-hmm.
and you can actually see some pictures of where she is buried. You can actually see her headstone of Mary Moore.
Mm-hmm.
She was accused of being a witch, and she was put to death. I believe she was hung for her crimes of terrible witchcraft. Yes, really basically her crime of being a woman.
In human history.
We never know. Maybe she was a witch too.
Yeah, we covered her in a Bloody Good Time episode from February 25th was the release date for that one. So
we sure did that one. So go back and listen to that. You can hear us talk about Mary Moore a little bit. But it's pretty cool here. This is the Piscataway town. Piscataway town burial ground. It's where Mary Moore was entombed or buried there, I guess. I don't really see it. I don't know if this is a picture of her gravestone or her headstone, or if it's something that you can't really read anymore. Some of them, unfortunately, are so faded that it's difficult to see what they say.
Right.
But you can actually go and you can visit this burial ground, and you can check that out if you're anywhere near there. If you're in the Jersey area and you want to go take pictures and send them to us, that would be awesome. Do it.
And we'll hot link a Google Maps link, maybe?
Yeah. And
if it doesn't screw up the feed, sometimes adding stuff to the feed.
I don't even want to talk about that right now.
Ruins episodes.
Another aside, if you listen to us on Stitcher, you might be missing a few episodes of this and also a shilling for your thoughts.
Because the description somehow makes the
no, I'm not quite sure what's wrong with it this time.
The RSS feed inevitable.
I don't know what's wrong with it this time. So if you feel like you're missing some episodes, check out our Facebook. That's where we post a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see, we're going to try to post on our Facebook and our Instagram and our, what's that thing called? Twitter. We're going to post some stuff there so you can look at the pictures of where this all took place. I was looking up to try to see if there's a lot of activity that happens around this area, and it is fairly close to this Piscataway town burial ground, so I thought that was interesting. It is in an area where there is a lot of ghost stories and paranormal activity reported.
But is it like a white people cemetery, or is it like a Native American cemetery? Because the whole country,
pretty sure
all of the East Coast is pretty much Native American burial ground, right?
Well, this was not a Native American burial ground. This was from a small town
called Piscataway.
Yes, I think it tells you where the oldest ones are.
Oh.
The oldest headstone that's readable in the cemetery dates to 1693.
Oof! Wow.
Yeah, it's actually two boys that are buried together in one coffin because they both died from eating poisonous mushrooms. The story of this is it was when food was scarce, and I guess they were out trying to see what they could find, and they picked the wrong mushrooms. So I'm not sure if they were probably brothers or somebody that lived in the same town together.
See, I read a sentence like that, and it justifies my lifelong avoidance of all things mushrooms.
Of mushrooms?
Yes.
With their creepy little backsides.
Like, it can taste savory. I'm like, yeah, but the texture is spongy as shit, and I don't like it. And it can poison you, or it can trip balls.
Or it can trip balls.
It's like flipping a 3-sided coin and hoping you don't end up on death.
You don't want to end up buried in a tomb with another young boy. Doesn't that sound awful? They just shoved him in the same coffin.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, it doesn't really look that big.
You couldn't do 2 pine boxes?
No, it looks like they just kind of shoved him in there. It's a really neat memorial. Like, it's a really big stone, and it's got, like, little brickwork around it. Like I said, that's really cool. If you are anywhere near this area, that would be awesome. It's near the Edison area, Edison, New Jersey. You can go ahead there and take some photos for us if you want. But do you have anything else to add, Nicholas? What are you thinking about this? What's your thoughts?
I'm just thinking about the your old haunts, right? Like the
things. That's what you're thinking about, like,
just like
weird, unexplained stuff that happened when you were a kid.
And you never had a camera on you, and you didn't take pictures if you're just out with your buddies drinking. And it was just like one of those things where it's like, yeah, let's grab a 6-pack and go have just talk about shit. And especially after working, and it's like, well, how do these guys know what like the guy who got in the car crash, and it's like, he might have been drunk, he might have been high, and I was like, how do you know that he's high? Oh wait, you work in the restaurant industry.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny too because he mentioned no cell phones. We know this took place a while ago. People weren't carrying cameras around to take video and photo of this. It's just your experiences, your memories, and that's just so interesting. A bunch of guys trying to act tough, but you know that if they didn't go back, they were pretty freaked out. Yeah. You can act tough around your friends, but then later at home alone in your bed trying to fall asleep.
I'm not going back there.
Thinking about
Silent
this,
promise
yeah,
to
you're
myself,
like,
I'm not going back.
We're not going back. Like, what do you want to do? Do you guys want to go drink at the bridge? No, let's go somewhere else.
Like Florida.
I don't think so.
Where it's nice and sunny, the Sunshine State. It never gets dark, right?
Oh yeah, Florida, where people eat each other because they took bath salts.
True. Yes. Okay. So nowhere's safe.
The zombie state.
Yeah. Nowhere is safe.
Nowhere is safe. Is that what you got out of this?
And on that note.
On that note.
Don't drink Packard Rye.
If you want to find more of us and more amazing podcasts, be sure to check out the PopGo Podcast Network. That can be found at popgopodcastnetwork.com.
And
check
on
out
Facebook.
And all the other shits.
Like and follow us on Facebook.
Sure.
Yes.
Do it.
Thank you.
And
keep the
campfire
burning.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, campers. Thanks for listening. Got any scary stories? Send them to campfirecurmudgeon@gmail.com or message us on Facebook. You can even send a text or leave a voicemail at 480-442-0124. Don't forget to visit us on Instagram and tweet us at CFCurmudge. Bye.